Good morning. Today we'll be discussing about the respiratory system histology, mainly the trachea and the lungs, which you have already done in the dissection hall. We have seen about the trachea and the lung. We'll discuss about the histology. Now, the main function of the respiratory system is that it acts as an air conductor. So there is a air conduction, and it filters the which are foreign bodies or some particles, which is done filtration, warming and moistening of the air is done by the nasal cavity. Then the gas exchange is in the at the alveolar level. From these two parts are acting as the from the nasal cavity, larynx, trachea, the bronchus, till the level of the bronchiole, that is till the level of respiratory bronchioles. From the respiratory bronchiole starts the gaseous exchange, which occurs in the respiratory bronchioles, alveolar ducts, alveolar sacs, and alveoli itself. Then the important function of the air when it passes through the larynx is the speech, and the nasal cavity's other function, one of moistening the air, warming the air, plus it helps in the olfaction, that is smell, which you can recognize the bad smell and the good smell of the perfumes, is all because of the function of the nasal cavity. At the root of the nose, we have the olfactory mucosa, which has the epithelium, which has neurons in the epithelium. And that is the place where the neurons are present outside the central nervous system. And another example of the neurons present in this outside the central nervous system is the taste buds. Then it has an important function, or endocrine functions. They secrete certain hormones. As we do proceed further, I'll tell you there are cells present which secrete hormones, and it also takes part in the immune response of the body. Now, we can divide the lung into a respiratory system into a conducting portion and the portion where the gas exchange, respiratory portion. So the conducting portion is from the nasal cavities, nasopharynx, the nasopharynx, and then comes the trachea, primary bronchus, which is divided into left and right bronchi, the secondary bronchus, which is we'll go into the lobes of the lung, divide the lobes into three, the upper, middle, and lower lobe in the right lung, and upper and lower lobe in the left lung. Then comes the tertiary bronchus, which supplies the bronchopulmonary segments of the lung, which are 10 in right side and 10 on the left side. Then we have, when these bronchi, they become lesser than 1 millimeter diameter, we call them bronchioles, and there are other differences also. We'll talk about it. The lobule, which is the lobule supplied by the lobular bronchiole, and the terminal bronchiole, which will go into the from the respiratory bronchiole into the so till the terminal bronchiole, it is whole of the conducting system, and after that becomes further gets divided. The alveoli, alveolar sac, alveolar duct, that is the respiratory part. The now what are the branches of the trachea or respiratory tube? That from the larynx, trachea, I've just now told you primary bronchus, secondary bronchus, tertiary bronchus. Tertiary bronchus will go to the bronchopulmonary segment, and the lobule will be supplied by the terminal bronchiole. So this whole thing is the conducting part of the respiratory system. From the terminal bronchiole, then comes the respiratory bronchiole, and all these are dividing into dichotomously, and we'll have the alveolar sac, atrium, and the saccule. So the respiratory bronchiole, alveolar sac, atrium, and the saccule, these are the areas where the respiratory exchange is taking place. Till the terminal bronchiole, it is the conducting part of the respiratory system. Now the question comes, if like describe the various cells found in the respiratory tract. There are about 10 variety of cells which are found in the whole of the respiratory tract. So let's first summarize or study about the type of cells present in the respiratory system. You have seen the slide of the trachea for the pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium with goblet cells. So that was the lining epithelium of the trachea. It has got ciliated columnar cells with about 300 cilia per cell, and they beat around 12 to 16 times per second, and they push the through the mucus towards the larynx, and which from the larynx we swallow it and gets digested and is excreted. So the epithelial lining of the trachea and the smaller branches till the bronchiole, it is lined with the ciliated columnar epithelium, but the goblet cells are absent in the bronchioles as the requirement, as we go down the respiratory tree, the requirement of the ciliated this goblet cells is reduced, so we don't have goblet cells in the bronchiole. Now the next variety of is the goblet cells. This is showing the ciliated columnar cells, and this is the goblet cells, the shape of a globule, which I have already told you, and has got number of mucus containing vesicles which are thrown from the surface. They are present in the smaller bronchi and absent in the bronchioles. So that is the point to be noted, that goblet cells are absent in the bronchioles. Then the other is the Clara cells, which are important variety of cells, and they are non-ciliated. Their preponderance is in the terminal bronchioles is present, and few of them may be present in the nasal mucosa in the trachea. They secrete the surface active agent which is rich in lipoprotein. The main function of this secretion is that it prevents the luminal adhesions, and it is called as 16 kilodalton CC16, which is secreted by the protein is secreted by the Clara cells present in the terminal and respiratory bronchioles, and they are non-ciliated. They have large secretory granules, smooth endoplasmic reticulum, lysosomes. All these cell organelles are seen in the electron microscopy, not in the light microscopy. They secrete the surfactant, which prevents the collapse of the bronchioles. And the other important function is they can act as a stem cells for the regeneration of epithelium, and they detoxify the noxious substances. Poisonous substances are detoxified by the Clara cells. The other, so this is just to summarize, I've already told you it prevents the luminal adhesion, and the secretory protein of the Clara cells is CC16. In the chronic lung disease and asthma, they are associated with the abundance of CC16 in the air fluid and the serum. Then the other important cells are the serous cells, which have got Their secretion is of serous variety, and they're they are present only mostly in the fetal life, but few of them are present in the human respiratory epithelium also. So their fluid is the periciliary fluid, which keeps the cilia for the movements of the cilia, and low viscosity circumciliary fluid is secreted by them, as well as the antibodies, which is the IgA type of antibodies, are secreted. The other types of cells, which are we have the lymphocytes, are also present. So in the trachea, the other variety of the cells is one of them cells is the Brush cells, Pulchisky cells, basal cells. I'll come to those also. But associated with them, we have the lymphocytes. These are also present in the epithelium, and these are forming the mucosa associated lymphoid tissue. The other undifferentiated cells, which I said was the basal stem cells. The basal cells are undifferentiated and present where pseudostratified epithelium is replaced, has to be replaced. So they act as the germinal layer of the epithelium. Okay, so you have seen the basal cells in the pseudostratified epithelium. They were placed towards the basement membrane, and they become abundant in carcinoma of the upper respiratory tract. Then there is another type of cells, which is the intermediate variety of cells in between. They don't have any cilia or neither any projections. Like Clara cells, they were protrusions from these luminal surface. They were protruding into the luminal surface. Here, the intermediate type, they are immature form of ciliated or secretory cells. The exact function is not much known about them. So they say it is the intermediate stage between the immature form of ciliated and serous cells. Then we have the brush cells. They are chemo undifferentiated and they are epitheliodendritic. They are variety of epitheliodendritic type of cells and have long stiff microvilli at the apex, which are filled with endocytic vesicles. Their main function is absorptive, and some are of the opinion they are chemosensitive. They monitor the air quality of in the lung. So the brush cells, they monitor the epitheliodendritic type, monitor the air quality in the lung. The, there are other cells which are called as the Kulczycki cells. The T is silent. Kulczycki cells or they are the endocrine. They belong to the Apud system of the cells, neuroendocrine cells. They have small uh, argentophilic granules. They have the affliction for the silver stains, round elliptical cells, and they have a number of granules which are present, dense granules in the basal part, and they secrete catecholamines, gastrin, serotonin, bombesin. All these are secreted by these hormones are secreted by the Golgi cells belonging to the Apud system, enteroendocrine or neuroendocrine cells, argentophil cells. And they are abundant in the fetal lung but are present in the trachea as well as in the bronchi. Lastly, we have the cells which is the mast cells or the or another name is the histaminocytes. They are like the mast cells where else in the body, and they contain histamine. Now coming to the microscopic structure of the trachea. So I have already told you the function: conduction, warming of the air, moistening of the air, and removal of the particulate matter by the cilia. If you see what are the layers of the trachea, we have the epithelium, the lamina propria, and the submucosa. There, the parts of the mucous membrane are the epithelium, lamina propria, and muscularis mucosa, which is absent. So there is, what are the layers? Epithelium, lamina propria, submucosa, and adventitia. In the trachea, we have the pseudo-stratified ciliated columnar epithelium with goblet cells. Then the part of the lamina propria. Lamina propria is limited by an elastic membrane from the submucosa. So this submucosa has got serous and mucous glands plus the connective tissue. In the lamina propria, loose connective tissue. In the submucosa, slightly denser than the lamina propria. And then we have the another layer in the trachea is of the cartilage. You can see this homogeneous mass which has been shown by the chalk is the cartilage, hyaline cartilage, and after that is the adventitia. So from the luminal side, if we see the TS of the trachea, it displays the ciliated columnar epithelium with goblet cells, pseudo-stratified ciliated columnar. Pseudo-stratified. Here it is written right. Mistake is the ciliated columnar, but it is pseudo-stratified ciliated columnar. Then the longitudinally placed elastic fibers and in the lamina propria. This is the submucosa and fibrous membrane, which is partially detached, merges with the perichondrium of the hyaline cartilage. And then we have this is the hyaline cartilage, outside will be the adventitia. So if this is showing the parts of the epithelium, I have already told you epithelium is pseudo-strat. If we have to draw the diagram, something like this you people have to draw. This is a diagram. Pseudo-stratified ciliated columnar epithelium with goblet cells. Then the basement membrane on which they are lying. The lamina propria, submucosa, and the hyaline cartilage. The cartilage of the trachea, this is the fibrous membrane, hyaline cartilage, lamina propria, epithelium. So epithelium, lamina propria, submucosa which has got glands, both serous and mucous glands may have the serous demilune. The lamina propria is limited from the submucosa by means of the elastic membrane, and posteriorly the cartilage, posterior ends. It's a U-shaped cartilage in the trachea. The posterior end filled with the muscle, smooth muscle, which is called the trachealis muscle. External fibrous membrane has got the fat cells also. So this is showing the pseudo-stratified ciliated columnar epithelium. the lamina propria, and this is the basement membrane which is on which these cells are lying. Below the lamina propria will be the submucosa. There is no muscularis mucosa. So again, to summarize, epithelium, pseudostratified ciliated columnar with goblet cells, thick basement membranes. There may be polyploid nuclei seen because of the mitosis. The other cells which are found in the goblet, in the trachea, are what? Serous cells, Kulczynski cells. So in the trachea, you will find ciliated columnar cells, goblet cells, serous cells, and Kulczynski cells, which we have already enumerated. This is part is the submucosa, showing the mucous glands with serous demilunes. You have done the glands and seen the glands in the general anatomy. We have mucous serous glands, and the other variety is the mixed gland. So in the lamina propria of the trachea, thick basement membrane. Below the basement membrane, longitudinally disposed elastic bundles of fibers, and there are aggregations of the lymphatic tissue. So lymphocytes, the other cells, outer zone in the form of a thick base membrane which separates the layer from the submucosa. This is the submucosa, and this one is the thick elastic membrane which separates the lamina propria from the submucosa. This is under. Is it clear to all of? I hope it becomes. The important other feature is the muscularis mucosa is absent in the trachea. The submucosa will show loose irregular connective tissue, blood vessels, nerve fibers, and mucus and serous alveoli, glands, and the glands are mainly found in the intracartilaginous zones. That means posterior part of the trachea. Submucosa has got fibers, sympathetic fibers, which secrete catecholamines and produce the catecholamines are secreted by sympathetic fibers and produce the bronchodilation. The cholinergic postganglionic fibers, parasympathetic nerve fibers, which produce bronchoconstriction. This nerve supply is of importance it is in the for the smooth muscle cells which undergo constriction in asthmatic patients. So external to the submucosa, cartilage and the fibrous membrane, which is the part of the adventitia, and the posteriorly we have the trachealis muscle connecting the U-shaped. This type of cartilage present in the lung, rings, cartilaginous rings are made up of hyaline cartilage. You can see here they're showing this is the trachealis muscle and one end of the U. The gap between the two limbs posteriorly with transversely disposed smooth muscle fibers which are attached to each end of the cartilage, and this is the part of the trachealis muscle. Two limbs of the U face posteriorly. Anteriorly is the arch and posteriorly are the two ends of the trachea. So we will see this trachealis muscle joining the two ends of the posteriorly. So 16 to around 16 to 20 rings. Each cartilage is flat on the anterior and convex on the posterior. It's a hyaline variety of the cartilage, and the gap between the adjoining cartilages is filled with the brachialis muscle and fibroelastic tissue. The adventitia is the fibrocartilaginous layer covered with connective tissue, binds the we have the pretracheal fascia or cervical fascia, pretracheal part of the deep cervical fascia in the adventitia. Now another important fact is that the structure of the extrapulmonary bronchi is same as that of the trachea. Now coming to the lung. So in the lung, we will study the parenchyma of the lung. Lung contains branches of the secondary bronchi, saccule and alveolus plus intrapulmonary. The secondary bronchi are called as the intrapulmonary bronchi. These form the air passages. So what all we going to study in the lung? Intrapulmonary bronchus, bronchiole, terminal bronchiole, respiratory bronchiole, alveolar duct, alveolar sac, and alveoli. What are the differences from the extrapulmonary bronchi? Let's first do the intrapulmonary bronchus. This is a diagram showing the more diagrammatic picture of the ES of the lung, where you have been shown the bronchus, the bronchiole, and the intraalveolar septa lined with pneumocyte 1 and 2, muscle, large blood vessel. This is general components of the lung parenchyma which you will see. Plus you will see the bronchiole. So three different types of bronchioles plus the intrapulmonary bronchus. So in the intrapulmonary bronchus, the lamina propria has elastic fibers, lymphocytes, lymphatic nodules along the deep border. Is the dense lamina of the elastic tissue. The submucosa has got secretory units of these serous and the mucus glands. That was in the extrapulmonary bronchus. Now, instead of horseshoe-shaped cartilage, irregular plates of cartilage are present. This is the irregular plate and this is the large bronchus. Then we have the lymphatic nodules associated with the intrapulmonary bronchus. This is the alveolar sac. And if you see the second part of this picture, what we see here is this is the bronchiole and associated with this the branches of the pulmonary vessels. Alveolar sac, alveolar duct and the bronchiole. So the difference between the extrapulmonary or the bronchus and the intra is that instead of horseshoe-shaped cartilage, there are irregular plates of cartilage and dense connective tissue in between the plates. The glands are present in between the plates, and in smooth muscle encircles the entire lumen. The entire lumen of the bronchus is encircled by the smooth muscles. Mucous membrane shows longitudinal folds. So this is one of the sections of the bronchus. So unlike the bronchioles, the bronchi has also surrounded by a layer of cartilage. This is a layer of plates of cartilage, which are irregular plates of cartilage with, in addition, there are smooth muscle and dense connective tissue. So this is different staining has been done to show the plates. These are the irregular plates. They are not different layers, but one single is broken into number of plates. And in between the areas in between the plates is filled by the connective tissue which has got the glands also. So mucous membrane is thrown into folds, you can say. This is while processing. When the muscles, the smooth muscles, when they contract, circular muscle layer which is lying deep to it, so you will see the longitudinal folds. And these muscle bundles are actually arranged in spirals, crisscross fashion. The, each of these fibers alternate contraction and relaxation of the muscles. They produce a constriction and dilatation in all axes of the glutes. So they spiral arranged in spirals and wound in opposite direction, wound in opposite direction. This is about the intrapulmonary bronchus. So external to the muscle layer, you can see this is the muscle layer crisscross pattern. External to the muscle layer, we have the loose areolar mucus and serous alveoli, which are present in the submucosa. As the diameter decreases, these mucus acini and the serous, they become reduced because we don't require these in the bronchiole. External to this is the hyaline, external to layer hyaline cartilage encircles the whole tube. Discontinuous, you can see this discontinuous plates, and the adventitia or the fibrous layer contains lymphoid tissue, connective tissue, blood vessels. This is how the H&E stain of the lung parenchyma will look like. You can see number of alveoli, large alveolar sacs, and the passage which is leading to these alveoli are divided by the interalveolar septas. These are the interalveolar septas lined with the pneumocyte 1 and pneumocyte 2. We have certain squamous cells and we have rounded cells which are projecting into the lumen of the alveoli. These are the pneumocyte 2. I'll just show you in a higher magnification. So the lung which you have seen, there was a visceral pleura which is lining the lung. The lining epithelium is the mesothelium. And below this serosa, we call wherever there is a serous membrane or the serous, below the serous layer, serous areolar layer, it enters into the lung. You can see the septa coming, serous layer coming inside. So mesothelium, then the subserous layer, and this is the septa which are coming down, which are rich in lymphatic vessels, form septas for each segment. You can see these alveoli, and larger are the saccules. Now each septa is made up of elastic fibers, few collagen fibers, and has got lymphocytic series and the macrophages, which are derived from the monocytes of the circulating blood. Now coming to, so we will see in the lung parenchyma, you have seen the intrapulmonary bronchus. The other feature which I told you was the bronchioles. So bronchiole, when the less than 1 millimeter, it is called as the bronchiole. Each bronchiole, there are three types of bronchioles. One is the terminal bronchiole or the three larger bronchioles, or the segmental, which represents the segmental bronchi each. And then we have the terminal bronchioles. These are all larger bronchioles are also called as the pre-terminal bronchioles. Then the terminal bronchioles, which will divide dichotomously and will end in the respiratory bronchioles. The respiratory bronchioles, as we descend down from the tracheal tree, the mucosal epithelium changes its character. From the pseudostratified, it becomes columnar ciliated, and the goblet cells also starts decreasing in number. You can see this is the pseudo-stratified columnar epithelium with goblet cells. Now it becomes low columnar or columnar epithelium with fewer cilia and very few goblet cells. So if we have to see the bronchiole, this tree division of the bronchioles, so this is the terminal bronchiole, diagrammatic representation. Then comes the respiratory bronchiole. So we have the columnar epithelium in the terminal bronchiole. In the respiratory bronchiole, the lining epithelium is cuboidal. From pseudostratified ciliated with less goblet cells, ciliated columnar, then becomes the columnar epithelium, and then becomes the cuboidal epithelium. You can see the projections coming out from the respiratory bronchiole, these dilatation, rotunda-like dilatations on the way to the respiratory bronchiole. This is the alveolar duct, and then comes the alveoli, interalveolar septa and sacs. This part is called as the atrium, which is the hallway to the alveoli. So that is, if there is a way going from alveolar duct, there are smaller doors and bigger doors. Wherever there is a bigger door on the sides, it becomes the alveolar sac with number of alveoli. So this pink is the visceral pleura, then the layers. We have the adventitia and then the lamina propria, the very little lamina propria, mainly the epithelium and smooth muscle layer. So the important distinguishing feature from the bronchi is that there is no cartilage in the bronchiole, only the epithelium and associated with the columnar epithelium or ciliated columnar or cuboidal epithelium in the respiratory bronchiole, and a layer of, very clearly seen here, is the smooth muscle cells where you can see surrounding the bronchiole. So this is a TS passing through the bronchiole. Less than 1 millimeter, and how it is kept patent. It is kept patent by the surrounding alveoli which are pulling it. The elastic fibers, there is a tension, so they less than 1 millimeter. Clara cells in the terminal and respiratory bronchioles produce components of the surfactant which reduce the surface tension of the fine respiratory passages and prevent their collapse. So this is showing the lining epithelium of the bronchiole with smooth muscle cells, and associated are the divisions of the pulmonary veins and pulmonary vessels. Okay. In the respiratory bronchiole, you might see the epithelium is broken. No cartilage, no submucosal glands are seen in the, there is no cartilage, there is no submucosal glands in the wall of the bronchiole. So this was starting from the terminal bronchiole, which have crisscross spirally wound smooth muscle cells. Then comes the respiratory bronchiole and the alveolar sacs. This is the atrium or the entrance to the alveoli. and the epithelium becomes in the respiratory bronchiole. From the bronchiole, see the number from the trachea. If we see the number of goblet cells, they start reducing and ultimately they will disappear. And so closely surrounding, I told you, closely surrounding the bronchioles is the elastic sponge or the parenchyma of the cell of the lung. They act as the elastic sponge work of air spaces surrounding. These spaces prevent, they pull the walls of the bronchiole to open its lumen. By this process, the air enters the alveoli. The epithelium is columnar ciliated to high cuboidal in different type. High cuboidal in the respiratory and columnar ciliated in the terminal bronchiole. Okay, what are the components of the interalveolar septa? The septa are made up of three components: surface epithelium, capillaries, and the supporting tissue. A network of capillaries, they lie in close contact with the basement membrane of the air spaces, that is alveoli, in which, so we have the capillary network through which will take the gas exchange will take place in such a way. So one is the three layers actually. A network of capillaries lie in close contact with the basement membrane of air spaces. In such spaces, the basement membrane fused with that of the endothelium and forms the alveolar capillary membrane. The alveolar capillary membrane is the fused two basement membranes. One is the lining epithelium of the alveoli and the basement membrane on which the endothelial cells are lying. So the alveolar duct, sac, and the alveoli, they are lined with the two types of cells. Single layer of cells, which are type 1 pneumocytes. These are the squamous flattened cells and a few rounded cells with large central nucleus. These are the secretory cells called the type 2 pneumocytes. They are capable of dividing and giving rise to both the types of pneumocytes. So for the regeneration of the lining epithelium of the alveoli, we have the type 2 pneumocytes, and the other important aspect about the other important function of the type 2 pneumocytes is they secrete the surfactant. Type 2 pneumocytes are very important. They secrete surfactant, which is the lipid material and is made up of the lipoproteins and the glycose aminoglycans, predominantly same as the secretion of the Tara cells. So the alveolar ducts are surrounded by smooth muscles, collagen, and elastic fibers. Smooth muscles are responsible for regulation of the air movement. All alveoli are also surrounded by a meshwork of collagen and elastic fibers, which forms the supporting meshwork, that is, which forms the meshwork on which the rest of the lung parenchyma rests. These cells, they lie on the basement membrane. Alveolar ducts have numerous ducts and alveoli opening into their walls. Each alveolar duct ends in the alveolar sac, which in turn open into the, we have branches into the several alveoli. So you can see these are the alveoli under Hypar, and you can see these rounded cells. which cover almost, they are since larger in size, they cover the 5% of the alveolar area. The rest all is covered by the pneumocyte 1. Between the two they are flattened cells, and they have got the, between the two pneumocytes, we have the occluding junctions. Or these occluding junctions, they prevent the passage of the other infective material from in between the pneumocytes. So surfactant, which is produced by the type 2 alveolar cells, they start appearing in the 35th week of gestation, and the composition is phospholipid dimethyl phosphatidyl choline, has glycosaminoglycans also, and function is it prevents, decreases the alveolar surface tension, which prevents the collapse of the alveoli and helps in the clearance of the foreign material. In the respiratory distress syndrome, in the this is absent. Surfactant is absent at birth. Then there are also holes present between the alveoli. So one alveoli has got, in the adjoining walls, one alveoli can communicate with the other alveoli through these pores, which are called as alveolar pores or pores of Kohn, Khon. And the alveoli and the terminal bronchioles together are called as the Lambert sinuses. So these act as alternative pathways. If there is a blockage somewhere in one alveoli, the air can pass through these pores or to the other, and the obstruction can be reduced. In case of obstruction, it is not that they can communicate with each other, alveoli. And there is the membrane which we talked about, the alveolar membrane. This acts as a blood-air barrier. What are the components of blood-air barrier? Epithelium, that is lining of the alveoli, basement membrane on which they are lying, and the capillaries surrounding it, basement membrane of the endothelium of the capillaries. So the two basement membranes of the pneumocytes, lining of the alveoli, and the lining of the capillaries endothelium, the two basement membranes, they fuse with each other, and in between is the some amount of very little connective tissue. So the gaseous exchange occurs through this alveolar capillary membrane. If you see, this is showing the blood-air barrier. Sometimes you are asked in the examination or in the viva, what is blood-air barrier composed of, or components of blood-air blood barrier or blood-air barrier, one and the same thing. It is responsible for the gas exchange. So we have the thin segment and the thicker segment of the alveolar wall. In the thin segment, the two basement membranes almost fuse with each other. So this is the thin segment where the exchange occurs. The thick portion of the interalveolar septum plays an important role in fluid distribution, and its dynamics are, it contains connective tissue cells. In the thick segment, you can see this macrophages and the fibroblasts. So there are portion of thick portion of the interalveolar septum and the thin portion. Through the thin portion is gaseous exchange taking place, and in the thick segment, the macrophages, they protrude in the alveoli, extend their processes, and remove the infective materials. So this is the endothelium and this is the epithelium of the alveoli. The blue is the alveoli and this is the capillary. So this whole thing constitutes the air-blood barrier. Now, what are just to summarize now, the epithelium and the layers and the cartilage and the glands present in different parts of the respiratory system. Trachea, pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium with goblet cells. Layers are mucosa, submucosa, cartilage and adventitia. The muscularis mucosa is absent. Glands are present. In the bronchus, same lining, that is extrapulmonary bronchus. Mucosa, muscle, submucosa, cartilage and adventitia, cartilage and glands. But in the intrapulmonary, I have already told you. Bronchiole epithelium can be columnar or it is now decreasing from pseudostratified columnar epithelium with goblet cells. The goblet cells have reduced to about 1 or 2 or 3 in number, or lesser rather, and in the mucosa, muscle and adventitia. Cartilage is absent, glands are absent. In the respiratory bronchiole, we have the simple cuboidal epithelium. Mucosa, muscle and adventitia, but no cartilage, no glands. Mucosa and muscle layer increases from the above little bit. The minor propria becomes less, as well as the submucosa is not there. Alveoli, simple squamous epithelium with pneumocyte 1 and 2. Pneumocyte 2, they are the stem cells as well as they secrete surfactant, which reduces the air surface tension. Now, this is a homework for you people. You have to read about the applied aspects. What changes we'll can discuss in the class or SDL. Read about the applied. If there is pseudo-stratified columnar ciliated epithelium changes to stratified, this is called as the squamous metaplasia. And in chronic bronchitis, what happens? Chronic diseases, in asthma, there is bronchoconstriction because of the constriction of the smooth muscles. And in bronchiectasis, the wall or the septa are destroyed. These diseases, chronic obstructive disease of the lung is quite common in the smokers, those who continuous smokers. Now, this is just to apprise you of the blood supply also. We have the pulmonary vein which is carrying the oxygenated blood, and the pulmonary artery which brings blood to the lungs, and there is exchange through the alveolo-capillary membrane, and the oxygenated blood goes back into the left atrium and from where it is distributed. The lung parenchyma is supplied by the bronchial arteries. You can see these thin ones are the bronchial artery, which are branches from in the right side posterior intercostal, enter the hilus. On the left, it is arising from descending thoracic aorta, and they make alveolo-capillary anastomosis, and then again passes through. Then there are lymphatics traveling in the lung alveoli. Thank you very much. Thank you for your patient hearing. I hope you understood